Hey there and welcome to True Scary Stories. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment telling us where you're from and what time you're watching. That helps YouTube know you love creepy stories, and it'll keep sending more your way.
5 disturbing Utah Navajo Tribal Police horror stories. What's going on, everyone? Before we get started, I just want to say that the stories you're about to hear come from real experiences shared by Navajo Tribal Police officers who patrol the vast and isolated regions of the Utah Navajo Nation. These lands are ancient, sacred, and according to many who work there, not always safe. If you're easily disturbed, you might want to turn back now. With that said, let's get into tonight's stories. Story 1. The Woman in White on Route 162. Officer Daniel Toso had been with the Navajo Department of Public Safety for about 8 years when this happened. He'd grown up on the reservation, heard all the old stories from his grandparents, but he'd always considered himself more practical than superstitious. That all changed one October night in 2019. It was around 2:30 in the morning, and Daniel was driving his patrol unit along Route 162, one of the lonelier stretches of road that cuts through the southeastern part of the Utah Navajo Nation. Out here, you could drive for 30-40 minutes without seeing another soul, just endless desert, scattered sagebrush, and darkness so thick it felt like it was pressing against your windows. Daniel was used to the quiet. In fact, he preferred the night shift, less paperwork, less drama, just him, the road, and his thoughts. He'd been listening to some classic rock station out of Cortez when the signal started breaking up, crackling with static. He reached over to adjust the dial when his headlights caught something up ahead. A figure, standing right in the middle of the road. Daniel's foot hit the brake instinctively, and the patrol car slowed to a crawl. As he got closer, his headlights illuminated what looked like a woman wearing a long white dress. Her hair was long and dark, hanging down past her shoulders, and she was completely motionless, just standing there with her back to him. "Dispatch, this is Unit 12, Daniel said into his radio, keeping his eyes on the figure. "I've got a possible pedestrian on Route 162, about 15 miles south of the Montezuma Creek Junction, requesting backup." The radio crackled. "Copy that, Unit 12. Nearest unit is about 40 minutes out. Proceed with caution." 40 minutes. Great. Daniel put the car in park and grabbed his flashlight, keeping one hand near his sidearm as he stepped out. The desert air was cold, carrying that sharp bite that only comes in the high country at night. His breath came out in small white clouds. "Ma'am, this is Navajo Tribal Police. Are you okay?" The woman didn't move, didn't even turn around. Daniel took a few steps closer, his boots crunching on the asphalt. "Ma'am, I need you to respond or I'm going to have to approach you." A gust of wind kicked up, carrying with it the smell of something rotten, like decomposing meat. Daniel's stomach turned, and for the first time he felt a prickle of real fear crawl up his spine. That's when she started to turn around. It was slow, mechanical, like she was moving on a turntable. Daniel's flashlight beam stayed locked on her as her profile came into view. Then her face. Except it wasn't really a face. Where her eyes should have been, there were just hollow, dark sockets. Her mouth was open way too wide, stretched into an impossible grin that showed rows of teeth that seemed too long, too sharp. And her skin, God, her skin looked gray and papery, like it was stretched too tight over her skull. Daniel's training kicked in, even as his mind screamed at him to run. He drew his weapon. "Get on the ground. Get on the ground now." The thing that looked like a woman tilted its head to the side, that horrible grin never changing. Then it moved. Not toward him, not away. It moved sideways, impossibly fast, jerking across the road like a film skipping frames. 1 second, it was in front of him. The next, it was 20 feet to the left. Then it was gone, just vanished into the darkness beyond his headlights. Daniel stood there, his heart hammering so hard he could hear it in his ears, his weapon still raised. He swept his flashlight across the desert, but there was nothing, just empty land and shadows. He backed towards his patrol car, never taking his eyes off the darkness, and got inside. His hands were shaking as he grabbed the radio. "Dispatch, Unit 12. Disregard backup. Situation resolved." "Copy that. What was the nature of the incident?" Daniel stared out at the empty road. He thought about the thing's face, that voice, the way it had moved. "False alarm," he said quietly. Just a deer in the road." He didn't wait for a response. He put the car in drive and got out of there, pushing the speed limit all the way back to the station. He never filed a report about what he really saw that night. But here's the thing that still keeps Daniel up at night. 3 days later, he was grabbing coffee at the Quick Stop in Montezuma Creek when an elderly Navajo woman approached him. She looked him dead in the eye and said, "You saw her, didn't you? The woman in white on 162. Daniel's blood ran cold. "How did—" My grandson saw her last month. Same place, same time of night. She's looking for something, or someone." The old woman leaned in closer, and her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "My grandmother used to tell me about her. She died on that road 70 years ago, hit by a drunk driver. They never found all of her." The woman walked away before Daniel could say anything else. He requested a transfer to day shift the next week. He's never worked nights again, and he's never driven Route 162 after dark, because sometimes when he closes his eyes, he can still see that impossible grin and hear that voice saying over and over, "Going home, going home, going home."
Story 2. The Scratching Under the Trailer. Officer Lisa Benally was responding to what seemed like a routine domestic disturbance call in Ineth, a small community in the northernmost part of the Utah Navajo Nation. It was late November, around 10 p.m., and a neighbor had reported hearing screaming coming from a mobile home at the end of a dirt road. Lisa had been on the force for 5 years and had handled dozens of these calls. Usually it was just couples arguing, sometimes fueled by alcohol. Nothing she couldn't handle. She pulled up to the address, a weathered single-wide trailer with a dim porch light flickering in the cold wind. As she stepped out of her vehicle, the screaming had stopped. The whole area was eerily quiet. No dogs barking, no sounds of movement, just the wind rattling through the bare cottonwood trees. Lisa approached the front door and knocked firmly. "Navajo Tribal Police, I'm here for a welfare check." No answer. She knocked again, harder this time. "This is Officer Benally. I need someone to come to the door." From inside, she heard a small voice, a child's voice. "Help." Lisa's protective instincts kicked in immediately. "I'm here to help. Can you open the door?" "Can't. It won't let me." The hair on the back of Lisa's neck stood up. "Who won't let you? Where are your parents?" "Under. It's under." Lisa tried the door handle. Locked. She radioed for backup, but the nearest unit was at least 30 minutes away. She couldn't wait that long if a child was in danger. She moved around the side of the trailer, shining her flashlight through windows. The interior looked trashed, furniture overturned, broken dishes on the floor. But no people. Then she heard it. A scratching sound, coming from underneath the trailer. Lisa crouched down, pointing her flashlight into the darkness beneath the mobile home. The space was maybe 2 feet high, filled with old pipes and debris. The scratching continued, rhythmic and deliberate. Scrape, scrape, scrape. "Navajo Police, if someone's under there, you need to come out now." The scratching stopped. In the sudden silence, Lisa heard breathing, heavy, ragged breathing that didn't sound quite human. Then a voice came from the darkness, low and grinding. "She called you. The little girl called you." Lisa's hand went to her sidearm. "Come out where I can see you, now." "Can't come out yet. Not until it's dark enough. Not until the moon is gone." "Sir, I'm going to need you to comply." "I'm not talking to you." The shout was so sudden and loud that Lisa actually stumbled backward. And then the scratching started again, faster now, more frantic. Something was moving under there, crawling through the confined space. Lisa ran back to the front of the trailer and tried the door again. This time, it swung open. She entered with her weapon drawn, clearing each room. The trailer was empty except for one bedroom at the end of the hallway. The door was closed. "This is Officer Benali. I'm coming in." She opened a door and found a little girl. Couldn't have been more than 7 years old, sitting in the corner of the room. She was hugging her knees to her chest, rocking back and forth. "Sweetie, it's okay. I'm a police officer. You're safe now. Where are your parents?" The girl looked up at her with wide, terrified eyes. "They went under." "What do you mean they went under?" "It came in through the floor. It grabbed Mommy first. Then Daddy went under to get her, but they didn't come back up." Before Lisa could respond, the entire trailer shuddered. A loud bang came from beneath the floor, then another. Something was hitting the underside of the trailer, hard enough to make the whole structure shake. Bang! 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 Lisa grabbed the little girl and ran for the front door. As they burst outside, she heard wood splintering behind them. She didn't look back, just got the girl to the patrol car and locked her inside. That's when she saw it. The lattice panels that skirted the bottom of the trailer were being torn away from the inside. Pieces of wood and metal went flying, and then something emerged. It was hard to describe. It looked almost human at first, but wrong, too long. Its arms and legs bent at angles that shouldn't be possible, and it moved in this horrible spider-like scuttle. Its skin was pale, almost translucent, and its face— Lisa will never forget its face, stretched and distorted with eyes that were too large and a mouth that split its head nearly half in two. She drew her weapon and fired 3 rounds. The thing jerked with each impact, but didn't stop. It scuttled towards her with increasing speed, making this chattering sound like clicking teeth. Lisa fired again and again until her magazine was empty. The thing finally collapsed about 10 feet from her, twitching. She radioed for immediate assistance, her voice shaking. "Officer needs assistance. Shots fired, hostile subject down. I need medical and CID to my location now." When backup finally arrived, they found Lisa sitting in her patrol car with the little girl, both of them in shock. They searched under the trailer with spotlights and found nothing. No body where Lisa had shot the creature. No parents, just scratch marks in the dirt and 2 sets of empty clothes lying in the crawl space. The little girl was placed with relatives. She never spoke again about what happened that night. The official reports stated that Lisa had encountered an armed intruder who fled the scene, and that the parents were missing, presumed to have abandoned their child. But Lisa knows what she saw, and she knows those scratch marks she saw under the trailer. They weren't made by hands. They were made by something with claws.
Story 3. The Hitchhiker on Highway 191. Officer Raymond Yazzie had a rule: never pick up hitchhikers. In his 12 years with the Navajo Department of Public Safety, he'd seen too many situations go sideways when someone made that mistake. But on a freezing January night in 2021, he broke that rule, and he's regretted it ever since. Raymond was driving north on Highway 191, heading back to the station after a long shift. It was just after midnight, and a winter storm was rolling in. Already fat snowflakes were starting to hit his windshield. That's when his headlights caught a figure on the side of the road, thumb out. As Raymond got closer, he could see it was an elderly Navajo man, had to be in his 70s at least, wearing just a thin jacket and jeans. No hat, no gloves. He'd freeze to death out here. Raymond pulled over and rolled down his window. "Uncle, it's too cold to be out here. Where are you headed?" The old man smiled, revealing gaps where teeth should have been. "Bluff. Got family there. Car broke down about 5 miles back." "Get in. I'll give you a ride." The old man climbed into the passenger seat, bringing with him a smell of wood smoke and something else Raymond couldn't quite place, something earthy and old.
"Thank you, grandson," the old man said, using the traditional term of respect. "You're a good man." They drove in silence for a few minutes, the snow starting to come down harder. Raymond turned up the heat and noticed the old man wasn't shivering, despite having been out in the cold. "So, what brings you out this way so late?" Raymond asked, trying to make conversation. "Visiting," the old man said simply. "Old friend. Been visiting him for many years now." "That's good. Family's important." "Not family. Friend. Very old friend." Something about the way he said it made Raymond uncomfortable. He glanced over at the old man and noticed his eyes were fixed straight ahead, unblinking. "How long have you known him?" "Long time. Since before the roads, before the power lines, before the white man came." The old man's voice had changed slightly, becoming deeper. Raymond forced a laugh. "That's a long time, Uncle. You're not that old." The old man turned to look at him, and Raymond's stomach dropped. The man's eyes had changed. They were completely black now, reflecting the dashboard lights like an animal's eyes. "I'm much older than I look, grandson." Raymond's hand moved slowly toward his sidearm. "Sir, I'm gonna need you to... Do you know what walks these lands at night? Do you know what your ancestors feared, what they built their ceremonies to protect against? I think you should... Skinwalkers, ye Naldloshi, the ones who walk on all fours, the ones who wear the skins of animals and men." The old man smiled again, and this time Raymond could see that his teeth had changed. They were sharp now, pointed. "Do you believe in them, grandson?" Raymond drew his weapon. "I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle." The old man laughed, and it sounded like rocks grinding together. "You can't stop what's coming. You can only run, and even then..." He leaned in close, and Raymond could smell decay on his breath. "Even then, we'll find you." Raymond yanked the wheel, pulling the patrol car to the side of the road. "Get out, now!" But when he turned to face the old man, the passenger seat was empty. The door was still closed, still locked. The old man had simply vanished. Raymond sat there, his weapon still drawn, breathing hard. The smell remained, wood smoke and earth and something rotten underneath. On the passenger seat was a single black feather. He radioed dispatch. "Unit 7 to dispatch. I need to report. What could he report? That he'd picked up an old man who disappeared from a locked car? That he'd seen a person's eyes turn black? "Unit 7, please repeat. What do you need to report?" Raymond looked at the empty seat, at the feather. "Never mind. Everything's fine. Unit 7 clear." He drove straight home, breaking protocol. He didn't file a report. He didn't tell anyone what happened. He just went home, locked all his doors and windows, and didn't sleep that night. The next morning he called his grandmother, one of the few people left who remembered the old ways. He told him everything. There was a long silence on the phone. Then, "Raymond, you need to have a ceremony done, a protection ceremony. That wasn't an old man you picked up." "What was it?" "Something that wanted you to know it was watching you. Something that wanted you to be afraid. And grandson, don't ever pick up hitchhikers on 191 again, especially at night. That road has always been bad, long before it was a road." Raymond agreed to the ceremony. A medicine man came and performed it that weekend, cleansing Raymond's car and his home. But 3 weeks later, Raymond requested a transfer to the Shiprock office in New Mexico. He couldn't patrol that stretch of highway anymore, because late at night when he closed his eyes, he could still see those black eyes staring at him, and he could still hear that voice saying, "We'll find you." He carries Sage in his patrol car now, every day, and he never ever picks up hitchhikers.
Story 4.
The Abandoned Hogan in Mexican Hat. Officer Christine Nez was still relatively new to the force when she got the call about a missing teenager near Mexican Hat, right on the Utah-Arizona border. A 16-year-old girl named Jennifer hadn't come home from school, and her phone was going straight to voicemail. Christine was familiar with the area. She'd grown up not far from there. The landscape was stark and beautiful, all red rock formations and endless sky. But she also knew the old stories about certain places you weren't supposed to go, places where the wrong kind of things happened. Jennifer's mother told Christine that her daughter had been fascinated by an old abandoned hogan about 3 miles from their home. Traditional Navajo hogans were 8-sided structures used as dwellings, but when someone died in a hogan, it was usually abandoned and left to decay. This particular hogan had been empty for at least 30 years, maybe more. She kept saying she wanted to take pictures of it for some school project, Jennifer's mother said, wringing her hands. I told her not to go near it. I told her, but teenagers don't listen. Christine organized a search party as the sun was setting. The November air was getting cold, and Jennifer had been missing for at least 6 hours. They needed to find her before dark. Christine and another officer, plus 2 volunteers from the community, headed toward the old hogan on foot. It sat in a small valley between 2 mesas, surrounded by juniper trees. As they got closer, Christine felt a sense of wrongness about the place. The hogan's entrance faced east, as tradition dictated, but the doorway looked like a dark mouth, and the whole structure seemed to lean at an odd angle. Jennifer, Christine called out. Jennifer, this is Navajo Tribal Police. Your mother is worried about you. No response, just the wind whistling through the junipers. They approached the hogan carefully. The wooden door had rotted away long ago, leaving just a dark opening. Christine pulled out her flashlight and stepped inside. The interior was larger than it looked from outside, and it smelled terrible, like mold and rot and something else, something metallic, blood. Jennifer? Christine swept her flashlight across the space. The walls were covered in strange symbols, scratched into the wood. They weren't Navajo. Christine didn't recognize them at all. In the center of the hogan was a fire pit, long cold, and around the fire pit were bones. Animal bones, Christine hoped, but some of them looked wrong. Too big for coyotes, too small for elk. Officer Nez, out here! Christine rushed outside to where one of the volunteers was pointing at the ground. Footprints, small sneakers, Jennifer's shoes, according to her mother's description. The tracks led away from the hogan, deeper into the valley. Christine and the team followed them, moving quickly. The sun was almost down now, and the shadows were getting long. The footprints stopped abruptly at the base of a large rock formation. There was nowhere else to go, just solid rock ahead and thick brush on either side. They just stop, the other officer said. How is that possible? Christine examined the ground carefully. The tracks definitely ended here, but that didn't make sense. Jennifer couldn't have just disappeared. That's when she heard it, a voice, faint and echoing, coming from somewhere above them. Help, please, I can't get out. They all looked up. About 30 feet above them was a narrow crack in the rock face, barely visible in the fading light. Jennifer, is that you?
It won't let me leave. It keeps pulling me back. Christine radioed for rescue equipment and climbed as high as she safely could. She could see into the crack now. It was wider than it looked, opening into a small cave. And inside, huddled in the darkness, was Jennifer. Jennifer, I'm Officer Nez. I'm going to get you out of there, okay? Can you move toward me? The girl started to crawl forward, and that's when Christine saw it. There was something behind Jennifer in the cave, something dark and shapeless that seemed to be moving against the rock, flowing like liquid shadow. Jennifer, move faster, now! The girl scrambled toward the opening, her eyes wide with terror. Christine reached in and grabbed her arm, pulling her out just as something in the cave made a sound, a low, rumbling growl that seemed to come from everywhere at once.
They slid down the rock face, and Christine didn't stop running until they were back at the vehicles. Jennifer was checked by paramedics and treated for dehydration and minor cuts, but physically she was okay. Mentally was another story. When Christine visited her in the hospital the next day, Jennifer was staring at the wall, unresponsive. The doctors said she was in shock. "Jennifer," Christine said gently, "can you tell me what happened? How did you get in that cave?" The girl's eyes finally focused on Christine. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "It looked like my mom. It was standing outside the hogan, calling my name. It sounded exactly like her, so I followed it. I followed it into the hogan, and that's when it changed. It wasn't my mom anymore. It grabbed me and dragged me through the ground. I don't know how. We went down and then up, and then I was in that cave, and it said it was hungry. It said it had been hungry for so long, and that I wasn't supposed to leave." Tears started rolling down Jennifer's cheeks. "It only let me call for help because it wanted more. It wanted all of you to come." Christine felt ice in her veins. "When we pulled you out, was it still there?" "Yes," Jennifer nodded slowly. "It's always there, waiting. And it told me to tell you something." "What?" Jennifer looked directly at Christine, and for just a moment her eyes seemed wrong, too dark, too empty. "It knows where you live." Christine left the hospital and requested an immediate protection ceremony. She also filed a report recommending the old hogan be demolished and the area sealed off. The tribal council rejected the request. Too expensive, they said. Plus, there was no evidence of any crime. But Christine knows what she saw in that cave, and she knows that Jennifer isn't quite the same girl who went into that hogan. There's something different about her now, something watching from behind her eyes. Christine doesn't patrol near Mexican Hat anymore, and she tells every new officer the same thing. If you see an abandoned hogan, don't go inside, no matter what you hear calling from within, because some doors, once opened, can never be fully closed again.
Story 5. The Radio Transmission. Officer Michael Tosi was working dispatch on a quiet Thursday night in February when he received a call that would change everything. It was 3:47 a.m., and he'd been alone in the communications center for hours. Most of the patrol units were out on routine checks or parked somewhere, catching a few minutes of rest during their shift. The radio crackled to life. "Dispatch, this is Unit 15. I need backup immediately. Repeat, I need backup now." Michael recognized the voice. Officer Helen Begay, a veteran with 15 years on the force. She was one of the most level-headed officers in the department. If she was calling for emergency backup, something was seriously wrong. "Unit 15, what's your location and situation?" "I'm on Navajo Route 22, about 12 miles west of the Oljato Junction. I don't know what I have. There's something following my vehicle." "Can you describe the subject?" There was a long pause. When Helen spoke again, her voice was shaking. "It's not a subject, Michael. It's not a person. It's running alongside my car. I'm doing 50 and it's keeping pace." Michael felt his pulse quicken. "Helen, what are you seeing?" "It's on all fours. It's big, maybe the size of a bear, but it moves wrong. And Michael, it has a human face." Michael checked his screen. The nearest unit to Helen's location was at least 25 minutes away. "Unit 15, I have Unit 9 responding to your location. ETA 25 minutes. Can you maintain your current speed and direction?" "I'm trying, but Michael, it keeps getting closer. It's right outside my window now, and it's looking at me. It's looking at me."
Michael could hear the terror in her voice. He'd known Helen for 8 years. He'd never heard her sound like this. Unit 15, maintain speed. Do not stop your vehicle. Do not. Oh God, it's trying to get in. It's scratching at the door. Through the radio, Michael could hear it, a horrible scraping sound like claws on metal. Then Helen screamed. It's on the roof! It's on the roof of my car! The radio transmission dissolved into chaos. Michael could hear Helen's car swerving, her breathing rapid and panicked. Then came a sound he'd never forget, a deep, guttural voice that didn't sound human, speaking Navajo words he couldn't quite make out through the static. Unit 15, respond. Helen, respond. Silence. Then the radio crackled one more time. Help me. But it wasn't Helen's voice anymore. It was deeper, distorted, coming through with layers of static and what sounded like laughter underneath. Help me. Help me. Help me. The transmission cut out. Michael immediately dispatched every available unit to Helen's last known location. He stayed on the radio for the next 40 minutes, trying to raise Unit 15, but there was no response. They found Helen's patrol car at 4:47 a.m., exactly 1 hour after her last transmission. It was parked on the side of Navajo Route 22, doors locked, engines still running. The roof was covered in deep scratch marks, and both side mirrors had been torn off. The driver's side window had 3 long cracks in it, like something had been trying to break through. But Helen was gone. They searched for 3 days. Helicopters, search dogs, volunteers from the community. They found nothing. No tracks leading away from the vehicle, no blood, no signs of struggle outside the car, just the patrol unit with its scratched roof and missing mirrors sitting alone on that dark stretch of road. The official report listed Helen Begay as missing, presumed to be the victim of foul play, but the officers who were there, who saw that car, who heard the recordings of that radio transmission, they know better. Michael requested a transfer after that. He couldn't sit in that dispatch center anymore, couldn't listen to the radio without hearing Helen's voice and that thing that spoke after her. But before he left, he did something that was technically against policy. He made a copy of the audio recording from that night, and late one evening, he took it to a medicine man he knew, someone who understood the old ways and the old threats. The medicine man listened to the entire recording in silence. When it finished, he looked at Michael with grave eyes. You need to destroy this. Burn it. The voice at the end, the one that wasn't hers, it left something behind in this recording, something that can spread. Every time someone listens to it, they become marked. Marked for what? For attention. These things, the Yi Nal Delushi, they feed on fear, and they remember those who hear them. They remember the sound of your voice calling for help, and sometimes they answer. Michael destroyed the recording that night. He burned the disc and threw the ashes into running water, just like the medicine man instructed. He also stopped working nights, stopped working dispatch entirely. He took a position doing administrative work, filing reports, handling paperwork. But sometimes, late at night when he's alone, he'll hear his radio crackle with static, and underneath the static, so faint he can almost convince himself he's imagining it, he hears a voice. Help me. Helen Begay was never found. The case remains open, but no new leads have emerged. Her patrol car was eventually decommissioned and destroyed. The tribal council cited the vehicle being totaled beyond repair, though the mechanics said there was nothing mechanically wrong with it. None of the officers who worked that night talk about what happened. It's an unspoken agreement, because they all heard that recording before it was destroyed. They all heard what came through the radio after Helen stopped screaming, and they all know out there, on the dark roads of the Navajo-Utah Nation, something is still waiting, still watching, still listening for the next voice calling for help in the darkness. So there you have it. 5 disturbing stories from Navajo Tribal Police officers working in the Utah Reservation. These are the things they don't put in the official reports, the things they can't explain, the things that remind them that these ancient lands hold secrets far older and darker than most people want to believe. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more horror content. And remember, if you ever find yourself driving through the Navajo Nation late at night, stay on the main roads, lock your doors, and if you see something strange, something that doesn't look quite right, just keep driving. Don't stop. Don't look back, because out there, in the darkness between the mesas, there are things that are better left undisturbed. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.